Hello and welcome to the webinar today. While everybody is coming in, we're just going to wait a couple of minutes before we go ahead and get started. Seeing more and more people joining on in. Want to make sure nobody misses anything and everybody gets a chance to see the presentation we have today. So welcome everybody. More and more you are coming in. Thanks for joining on the webinar. We'll go ahead and get started in just a minute or two. So everybody sit tight, and I'll be back in just a minute to kick things off. Okay, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome everybody to the webinar today. My name is Ryan and I'm going to be your moderator for today's webinar. I do have the privilege of being joined today by Dr. Jane Warford. She is the audiologist at Better Hearing Center, as well as Dr. Dawn Shum, the head of audiology here at Whisper. So before we go ahead and get into the presentation, I just have a couple of very quick housekeeping items to cover. First off, we will have a Q&A session at the end of the presentation today. I do encourage everyone to ask questions as they come up. You'll see a little Q&A box there at the bottom of your Zoom interface somewhere. Feel free to open that up and type in your questions as they come up throughout the presentation. And at the end, after we're done presenting, we're going to go ahead and go through those questions and get them answered for you. So with that, I am going to go ahead and turn things over to Dr. Warford.
All right. Well, thank you and welcome everybody. And thank you for taking time out of your schedules to join us for the webinar today. And I'm really excited to be here with Dr. Shum and presenting this new hearing system to you, the Whisper AI. I have a little experience with it so far, and I think it's going to revolutionize the hearing industry. My name is Jane Warford, and I've been an audiologist with Better Hearing Center for many years. I started way back in 1983. So I've seen a lot of changes happen in the hearing industry. And Better Hearing Center has 5 offices around the Bay Area. And we have a great team of people, many of whom have been with Better Hearing Center for well over 10 years. So we have a great team. And one of the things that I love about working at Better Hearing Center is that our owner, Mark Sanford, makes sure that we are at the forefront of hearing aid technology. We offer all the major manufacturers of hearing aids and work a lot with all the different brands. We don't just have them here in name only. But we also carry some specialty items such as the Lyric and the Earlens and now the Whisper product. Because we really firmly believe that there is no one right solution for everybody, we believe that our patients are unique and that their needs are unique, and what they want to wear as far as style of hearing aid is different from person to person. How their ears physically look on their body and what size they are is different. And everybody has a different budget that they're working within. So we love really exploring that with you during the trial period. We take the trial period very seriously to come up with solutions that really fit your needs to the best that we can. I'm excited again to just talk a little bit about my experience so far with the Whisper hearing system. When we first started with the Whisper, the first thing I love to do is get my hands on it and wear it, play with it. And I do that a lot with hearing aids. Sometimes I wear them during the office during the day. Sometimes I take them home overnight. And I myself don't have any significant hearing loss. I'm on that border line of hearing loss. And I'm starting to notice a lot of things that my patients have been telling me for years. So one of the things I notice about hearing is particularly on TV movies, I'm not following the dialogue well. I'm constantly asking my husband to put on captions. So I took the Whisper device home and wore it at home, and we were watching a movie. I thought, well, let's see how this sounds and how it goes. And Roomba started up. And if you know what Roomba is, it's a robotic vacuum cleaner that loves to start right in the middle of things. And so usually I will just turn it off immediately, but I thought I'm going to leave it on. I'm going to let it keep going. I'm going to really challenge it, zooming around the room, making all kinds of noise, and we're watching a movie. And I was very amazed at the artificial intelligence kicking in and really lifting the speech out of that sea of noise that I was in. So that was a really confirming trial for me. And what I'm hearing back from my patients is really similar to that. They're noticing the clarity. One of the things my patients often tell me is, I don't need it to be louder, I need it to be clearer. And I really think that this artificial intelligence is working on your behalf to help separate, to lift the speech up a little bit above the other noise. And that's remarkable. Other patient comments, one gentleman that I have fit is in a lot of large board meetings. He's in a lot of, he has a club where they have events. He's really challenged, and he thought that the hearing was outstanding. Now, he was a brand new user, so he doesn't know how good that is. He's able to function in all those situations. So far, I'm really getting some really favorable responses back about the sound quality of this artificial intelligence. But the other thing that I want to mention that my patients really appreciate, and I really appreciate, is that oftentimes, just to give a little backstory, when you get a hearing aid, average life, people keep their hearing aids about 5 years. Some a little sooner. We'll get into new technology, but you put a big investment up front, so you want to get your life out of the hearing aid. And so that means that for 5 years, you're in the same technology. And I know you guys all know how quickly technology is changing things today. And so sometimes 2 or 3 years in to the life of somebody's hearing aid, I'm hearing, while I was wishing I was hearing better, and I wish they would hear better, and I would love to get them into new technology, but it's a little too soon for them to reinvest. One of the wonderful things about Whisper is that the hearing aid actually grows with you. It actually it has downloadable upgrades that Don will be telling you a little bit more about in just a minute. So that as you wear the hearing aid, it's constantly getting upgrades and becoming more intelligent and better. And so that's really gives people good hearing right now, but it also gives them the security of knowing that they aren't stuck in one technology. It's going to keep improving. And then just lastly, I want to mention another nice thing is that this doesn't require a big money output up front because it's done on a lease basis. So that means that it has a very reasonable price point and that you're paying on a monthly basis, which is helpful for a lot of people that are on a tight budget. So with all of that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Shum and let him tell you more about it.
Thank you very much, Jane. And I want to add my welcome to all of you who are out there and participating in the seminar today. We appreciate the interest. I'm sure that you're on the seminar because of the confidence and trust you put into Better Hearing Center. We are very happy that they have chosen to partner with us to let us be one of those suppliers that they feature in their office because they believe in our technology, and hopefully the trust that you put in to the Better Hearing Centers will be rewarded with your experience if you do decide that you want to try Whisper and see if it's going to mean something for you. I'll give you a little bit of background myself. I am an audiologist. I've been an audiologist for 35 years or so. The past 25 years, I've been in the industry. I've been there during some of the big developments in the hearing aid field. And when I had the opportunity to join Whisper, Whisper is a young company. We started about 4 years ago to put the company together. We are San Francisco based. We were founded by members of the Silicon Valley AI community. They thought that they could do some significant improvements in the way hearing aids function by bringing their expertise and knowledge in the world of AI into the hearing aid field. So they got together, they brought some of us in who have experience in the hearing aid industry to be able to kind of put together a team that can bring care to you. And so when I had the opportunity to join that team a while ago, I was really excited about it. I've been, as I said, I've been in the hearing aid field for a long period of time. And I'm very interested in what signal processing can do to help patients with hearing loss to get to that next level of performance. And when I learned what Whisper was up to, their approach into the marketplace was very appealing to me to be part of that. And so I've been more than happy that I had that opportunity to become part of this. And now I get the opportunity to work with professionals like those at Better Hearing Center, but also be able to work with end users like yourselves. There are two things that I want to talk about over the next 15, 20 minutes. One is to talk about what makes Whisper such a unique type of hearing aid in the hearing aid field. And basically because it is a learning system, because it is AI-based, because it is structured the way it is the sort of system that can get better over time. And I'll talk about how we do that and why we do that in a few moments. The second big topic that I want to talk about is how we're using artificial intelligence very effectively within the system to really try to lift performance of patients with hearing loss to get them to the next level. So we'll cover both of those in the next little bit, and then we'll have opportunity to open it up for questions. So I know that many of you who are on the seminar today are hearing aid wearers, and probably most of you developed your hearing loss when you were an adult at some point in time. Some of you may have had hearing loss all your life, but most people who end up getting hearing aids these days, it's something that it was a condition that developed over maybe several years. And when a person starts to develop hearing loss, at first it's not really clear that it's even hearing loss that you're dealing with. It just, things seem to be different. Eventually, it probably starts to kick in your consciousness that, oh yeah, this might be hearing loss. Maybe it's my time to have to deal with that. But most patients don't immediately go out and do something about it. Then they start thinking about it, and then they start researching it a little bit. And at some point in time, they make that very smart and decision to take that next step to decide, okay, if hearing aids are the sort of thing that I'm going to need, I might as well do it. And when a person gets to that point and makes that decision to do something active about their hearing loss, usually they want to start with the best. It's taken them a while to get to that point, to make that decision. But as long as you're going to do it, you might as well do it right. That's the attitude that it often is adopted by individuals. And so they want to make sure that they're dealing with very good technology. Perhaps you research the technology to find out what technology seems to make most sense for you. The other thing that patients, at least patients who really care about their hearing and really care about their healthcare, they want to work with experts. They want to be working with people who can really bring a very high level of care to them. So the professionals at the Better Hearing Center, for example, or other professionals from around the country, they want to make sure that they're working with somebody who's experienced and seems to know what they're talking about when they talk about hearing loss and talk about hearing aid technology. The third thing, though, and Jane alluded to this, is that you want to feel like you're keeping up to date. In other words, if you're going to invest in your hearing care and in taking it seriously, you don't want to feel like you're not getting the best that you possibly can. The problem is that traditional hearing aids, when you buy them or when you obtain them, the way they function the day that you obtain them is the way that they're going to function for the next 5 years. Like Jane said, the typical life of a hearing aid is somewhere between 4 and 6 years. Typically 5 years is a good time period where most people think, well, maybe it's time for me to get my next set of hearing aids. But the hearing aids you get on that day could be absolutely the very best thing in the marketplace on that day. But as the months and the years roll by, there starts to be developed a performance gap, that what used to be state of the art is no longer state of the art. And that's just the inherent nature of electronic hardware. That electronic hardware that's just electronic hardware is going to be very good at one point in time, but behind the time at a different point in time. But most patients can't afford to replace their hearing aids every 6 months or every year. It's just a matter of waiting until they believe that they're in a position to take that next step forward. When Whisper was founded, one of the observations that fundamentally affected the way our founders thought about it is that modern electronic devices don't work that way anymore. That is a description, this idea that once you buy it, it's the same product forever. That is a little bit older notion in the world of consumer electronics. The very best example that we all experience is our smartphones. You'll buy a smartphone at a certain point in time, and it's going to be very good hardware, of course, and you want to get very good hardware. It's going to have a camera on it. It's got to have good battery power. It's got to have the things that you expect it to do. But these days, when you really think of the usefulness you get out of your smartphone or the enjoyment you get out of the smartphone, it's all based on the software that you put on the smartphone, meaning the apps that you put on the smartphone. When these smartphones are developed, they have a tremendous amount of capability to add new software-based features to the phone, and we deal with that these days through apps. So if you want a certain news feed on your phone, if you want a certain, you want to stream movies from either Netflix or Hulu or somewhere else, you decide what apps you want on your phone. If you want to follow the 49ers, you get NFL Sunday Ticket in case you're out of market, or whatever it is that you want to follow. You do that based on the software that you put on the phone. And everyone's phone ends up to be a little bit different because everyone is putting different software on. And as your needs grow and your interests grow, you can change that software, and the phone becomes better for you because it's updated to your needs. Over the last few years, even televisions have gone in that direction. It used to be you turn on the television, you would get a guide and you'd be able to choose from 300 different channels, and that was it. These days, you turn on your television, you have apps on the television also, where you can pick Netflix or Hulu or YouTube or whatever it is that you want to get your media from. You can do that based on apps on the television, and those apps can change all the time. You can add new apps, you can add new capability because it's a software-based product. When Whisper was founded, the idea was we could build hearing aids that way. We can build hearing aids where what we want to do is use a software-based approach to what is built into the hearing aid in terms of the signal processing capabilities. Because the benefit that a person gets from a hearing aid these days is so much driven by the signal processing or the audio processing that we can put on that in those hearing aids. And that is based on the very best ideas in software that we can use at the time. So the whole idea with Whisper was to be able to set up the device so that we could upgrade the software several times per year in order to make sure that users of Whisper never felt that they were falling behind what is state of the art in the field of hearing aids. And so if you sign up for a lease of the Whisper product for 3 years, over that period, you're going to continue to get upgrades to the signal processing or the audio processing that happens on those on the hearing aids. in order to keep you up to date with whatever the very best thinking in the field is in terms of how we can solve problems for patients with hearing loss. And that's a fundamentally different way of approaching the design of a hearing aid and the way you want to run a hearing aid company. The other big aspect of the development of the Whisper hearing system is the idea that we wanted to lean very heavily into the world of artificial intelligence. As I said, we are a San Francisco-based company. We were founded by people coming out of the Silicon Valley AI community. And they knew that they could create solutions that were better than current solutions in the hearing aid field if they brought the power of artificial intelligence to the signal processing built in hearing aids. AI is all over daily life. If you ever talk to your phone to get directions or to get a sports score or ask about the weather or even ask Siri for a joke, you are tapping into artificial intelligence. If you have a Roomba vacuum that learns the dimensions of your living room like Jane has, that is a product that uses artificial intelligence. Anytime you do online shopping, that's artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence can mean many, many different things these days. There is a specific subset, excuse me, of the world of artificial intelligence called machine learning. And machine learning is a very highly specific and very well developed part of the world of artificial intelligence. And machine learning allows systems to be able to solve problems that typically are very difficult to solve up to that point in time. And machine learning is usually very good about solving problems when you have a lot of data available, but you don't know what the data is telling you. A very good example of where machine learning is used in everyday life is in medical diagnosis. If you think about the traditional medical approach to treatment, if you have a particular condition, or you might have a particular condition, the care you get is based on the knowledge and experience of the clinician who you are dealing with. But what happens when you could take the knowledge and experience of that one clinician and combine it with the knowledge and experience of many, many other clinicians from around the country and around the world who deal with the same type of condition? And you accumulate all that experience, all the data that they have on symptoms that patients shows and what sort of treatment options were used and how effective different treatment options were. And you throw all that data into a big pot and you use artificial intelligence, specifically machine learning, to cull through that data and to look for relationships between everything in that data to be able to give better direction about how to identify and treat certain conditions that a person might have. And so machine learning is a big part of a lot of different areas of medical diagnosis these days. Machine learning, for example, is the basis for credit card fraud protection these days, right? We've all received that text or that phone call from a credit card company to say, were you just in, Boise, Idaho, and did you just buy, a six-pack of Budweiser at the local mini mart? And you say, no, that wasn't me. And it's like, we didn't think so. Our system identified that as a potentially fraudulent activity. And so we put a temporary hold on your card while we checked with you to make sure that that was a true or not true activity. And for credit card companies to be able to do that in real time, it's absolutely based on their ability to track a tremendous amount of data in real time to be able to identify patterns of purchases that are fraudulent compared to the vast majority of purchases that are not fraudulent. And that ability in real time to identify a unique pattern of behavior that doesn't make sense is the basis of the way they protect your financial well-being these days. And it's all driven by very data-intensive approaches to looking at all the millions of transactions that happen every day. So artificial intelligence is part of everyday life, and it can mean a lot of different things. In the world of hearing aids, at Whisper, we have decided to take the power of artificial intelligence, and very specifically of machine learning, and apply it to the most important problem that patients with hearing loss face, even patients with very good hearing aids. And that is the ability to understand speech in more challenging environments, when there's a lot of noises in those environments, a lot of different people talking, or a lot of other things that are in the environment, whether it's your Roomba vacuum playing, a vacuum machine running around, or it's traffic noise, or it's clattering of dishes. We believe fundamentally that we can continue to improve the ability of a hearing aid to identify and recognize speech and separate it out from this background noise if we keep on improving and improving and improving the AI approach that we use in hearing aids. The thing about these situations is that although they are challenging, and although they can take a lot of effort, they oftentimes are some of the most enjoyable parts of a person's life. To go to a party, to be around your friends, to go out to dinner with some of your best friends, to have the family around for Sunday dinner. Those are the situations that people want to be part of, because humans tend to be social animals. But the problem with being around a lot of other people is that it can get a little noisy. And if you have developed hearing loss over the years, you may have found yourself being more and more frustrated by those situations, to be more and more fatigued by those situations, to the point where sometimes you end up not participating as much as you would like to. And that's really not a good thing, for you to limit what you can do with your life because your hearing loss is standing in the way. And at Whisper, we very much want to go after those situations and do the best we can to continually improve the solutions that we create in those challenging environments. Let me tell you a little bit about the system if you're not familiar with it. So there are two basic parts to the Whisper hearing system. On the right side, you see the earpieces. And so these are hearing aids as you know them today. They're the small lightweight ones that sit over your ear, behind your ear, with a wire that goes down in your ear. Those earpieces are full of the sort of technologies that define top of the line hearing aids in the marketplace these days. But we've added another element to the system, and that's really what sets us apart as a company, and that's called the Whisper Brain. And the Whisper Brain is a palm-sized device that houses very powerful signal processing that allows us to do the artificial intelligence machine learning solution for speech understanding and noise. So that brain is just full of a tremendous amount of signal processing capability to really allow us to go after those difficult environments that individuals like yourself often find yourself in, and often find yourself struggling in. There are two basic ways that you can use the Whisper system. Excuse me for a second while I pull out my Whisper system. If you're going to be in a situation that's relatively easy, let's say you're just around the house, maybe it's you and just one other person in the house, you're having quiet dinner together, you're watching television, something else like that, where it's not particularly challenging, then the earpieces themselves are going to be fine. But if you find yourself in a situation where there's a significant amount of noise, let's say the rest of your family comes over for Sunday dinner, like I said, or you decide to go to a party, or you go out to a mall or a restaurant or something like that, that's when you want to have the brain available. The brain is, as I said, that part of the system that when you're in challenging environments, you're really going to get that benefit of the AI signal processing at that point in time. The brain is something that when it's activated, if you want to get the benefit of the brain, you need to have it within about 10 feet of the earpieces. So you don't have to have it laying right in front of you. You don't have to hang it around your neck, anything like that. You can keep it in a pocket. You can keep it in a purse. If you're at home, you can leave it sitting on the table while you're cooking or doing whatever else you want to do. And it's going to be that part of the system to really give you that next level of AI-driven benefit from the system. And so again, you will find the situations where the brain is giving you benefit. And different patients use the brain in different ways, but typically they all recognize the sort of situations where they feel like the brain is going to give them that next level of benefit, and they save the brain for those situations. As I said earlier, this is a upgradable software-based system. So several times a year, what we will do is send an upgrade to the system as our experts figure out new and better ways to process sound so that you can hear and understand more effectively. We will send those upgrades out, and then you can load them into your devices. Right now, we're in the situation where when a new upgrade comes out, you need to visit the office in order for the upgrade to happen. Eventually, we'll be at a point where we can send those updates out, as we say, over the air, meaning that we can send them out. They would come to your brain and to your earpieces via your smartphone. And so you wouldn't need to go to the office. We're not quite at that level yet, but we'll be there before too long. So that even at that, even now where you get significant benefit from the upgrades, those benefits will be available, but in even a more convenient sort of package where you can do it without even having to go back and visit the clinic. It's always a good idea to visit the clinic. There's always things that you can talk about and go over with your care providers, but sometimes you also want life to be convenient and on demand when you're ready to have the upgrade completed. We've received a lot of good press about what we're doing because we're doing some different things in technology that we haven't seen before. And so we've gotten good coverage in, for example, the technology press, but also from general use publications like New York Times and the AARP magazine and things like that. But it's one thing when tech experts write about a new technology. It's another thing to hear what end users are saying. And so on the screen, you see some testimonials from actual Whisper users who've been using the system. We put the first products that we had in the marketplace about a year ago. And since that time, we've upgraded the system 3 times. And so people who bought the product back a year ago are now working basically on their 4th version of the product, meaning that we keep on making the improvements of the product. And when you take a look at some of the words that they write, you get the sense that they are experiencing sound in a very effective way. And it makes us feel like we are doing the sort of things that we had set out to do when we put the company together. So when we kind of boil it all down, there's 2 things that I'd ask you to walk away from the seminar remembering is that Whisper is a learning system. It's a software-based upgradable system that we've shown the commitment to creating and distributing upgrades to the system on a regular basis for patients who have decided to bring Whisper into part of their life. And second of all, the effectiveness of our system owes a lot to its ability to harness the potential of artificial intelligence. And we have some of the best minds in the field of machine learning who work for us, who are constantly working on improving our solution so that individuals like yourself who are dealing with hearing loss are really getting the best care that we can conceive of for anybody. So with that, what I'm going to do is now invite Ryan back and invite Jane back so that we can open up the floor to answer some of the questions that you've been sending in. So Ryan.
All right, fantastic. Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Dawn. At this point, let's go ahead and dive into the questions that all of you have been asking throughout the presentation today. I've seen a number of questions come in. Feel free to continue to ask questions. Again, you'll find that Q&A box at the bottom of your Zoom interface somewhere, and we'll go ahead and just keep answering them as they come through. So let me go ahead and pull this up here. So the first question that I see, well, a number of questions, is around cost. How much does Whisper cost?
So there we go. There's the slide. So Whisper's done on a 3-year lease. And you see there that we have the lease price is $139 a month. And in California, there's a small tax on top of that. And during that 3-year period, all of your office visits are included, of course, and that's always what we do. And then the upgrades are all included in that. And then there's a very, Don, do you want to talk about this or me as far as the brain trust?
You can do that. That's fine.
So we have a very nice offer for those of you that are at the webinar and decide to proceed forward with the Whisper system, and that would be after a trial period. But and that is that you will get a coupon that will allow you to get an upgrade to the hardware when that comes out sometime in this next 3-year period.
Also, there's a cost reduction on that with that coupon also, right?
Yeah, very nice cost reduction on that. It brings it down to close to $100 a month.
Okay. And so to give you a little bit more detail about the hardware. So we are in our first generation of hardware. Like I said, we put that in the market a little over a year ago. We are working on our second generation of hardware that will have more capability and will have some new features involved included in it. And when that, by being part of the Brain Trust, which is what happens when you use this coupon, then you will be first in line to get an upgrade to the new hardware at no charge when it is available from us. And I can't give you a specific date because in the world of manufacturing, you never know for sure. But it'll definitely be sometime within that a 3-year lease period where we'll have that second generation out. It's an interesting way of thinking about hearing aids because traditionally you only think about hearing aids in terms of the hardware. But as I've tried to emphasize, we really think of the benefit from hearing aids as being a combination of the hardware and the software that we put into it. And so when you have a new generation of hardware that allows you to do even better things with the software. So when the new hardware is available, we're very interested in getting that out to patients so that they can get an even fuller benefit from using the system.
And then as I understand it, the brain test, they are asking one thing from you as well. And that is that about every 6 months or so that you fill out a survey to give them more information about what's working for you and how it's working for you.
Yes, we are one of the phrases we use in our company is that we are data informed, meaning that we very much want to base our decisions on learning things about the way our system works and how users respond. And so I suppose all companies are like that, but at Whisper, we take it to the next level that we want to see what the data says before we make any decisions. And so by including people in the Brain Trust program, the idea is that you become part of our advisory panel to tell us what works well and what doesn't work well. And that helps give us guidance about how we can take a solution for you to the next level.
Great. Thanks, Don and Jane. The next question is, when you're referring to one upgrade of the hardware, are you referring to the earpieces or the brain?
Both. So our second generation will be a new version of the brain and a new version of the earpieces.
Okay.
And then the software updates are done by hooking your brain, at this point, is done by hooking the brain up to our computer and downloading a software update into the brain.
Next question is, I have a couple questions here about privacy. Is my hearing aid tracking personal input to a connected source?
No. So what ends up happening is the only thing that we log about a patient's use on the product is the sound levels and the complexity of the sound environments that you're in. So we do want to know what type of environments that people are in, but we're not doing it by recording the environments. There's no microphone that's recording environments, but we do track the complexity environment. That's acoustically, meaning that we can measure the overall level and how much of that seems to be speech versus noise. But there's nothing personal that we're tracking at the time while we're doing that. And one of the reasons we do that is, again, we want to be data informed. We want to know where people are using their system, so that we make sure that we are trying to optimize performance in those situations. And now, after Jane's example of the Roomba, I can go back to our experts to be able to tell them that they need to make sure that they're optimizing performance in the presence of a vacuum, because that's one of the situations where it can possibly be running. But there's no personal, we're not recording conversations, we're not recording anything else from a person other than just overall sound levels that a person would happen to be in at times.
All right, thank you. The next question is about the upgrades. Do I need to come into the office to get the software upgrades?
Right now, yes. But that will only be true for a while longer. I can't tell you exactly when we're going to be able to switch over, but it is a project that we've been working on intensely, because we want this to be a very convenient experience. So we will expect to be able to do over-the-air upgrades of your system, meaning you don't have to go to the office. I would venture to say within the first year of using the product. But you can never be absolutely certain on dates, but it's the sort of project that is rolling along at a really good clip right now in our company.
And just another point that Don also spoke about, it's nice to come in. We generally see our patients every 6 months just to make sure the ear isn't filling up with wax, to make sure that we're addressing any issues that might be coming up, cleaning the hearing aids, changing the tips, things like that. So that's a normal part of wearing a hearing aid anyway. So hopefully the upgrades will sort of correspond with that a little bit, at least.
Great. The next question I have is, my problem with my current hearing aid is that words seem to run together. Can Whisper help with that?
So, that is something that whole idea of what I was saying about clarity and separating those words. Now, everybody's auditory system is different. Your cochlea, which is your inner ear, is a complex organ, and it's that all the way up to the brain. You're hearing with your brain. So there's different degrees of damage in different ears and different degrees of processing difficulty. So we're working with your ear, but the system itself is going to help lift that speech up. And so hopefully would really improve your effort in hearing words clearing, reduce the effort that you have to use to hear what people are saying.
One of the things about Whisper, just like with all hearing aids, as Jane said, you never can be sure if one particular hearing aid is going to be the solution that you're looking for. But with Whisper, we are strongly encouraging typically about a 2-week trial use right at the beginning before you sign any paperwork, just to try it. Then once you do sign up for the system, by California law, you have 45 days that you can return the hearing aids. So you basically have about a 2-month window at the beginning where you will know within that 2 months whether or not this is the solution that's really taking you to the next level that you might be looking for. So there's a lot of protection built in because of those things that we simply don't know about each individual's hearing loss.
Yeah, and I want to emphasize how seriously we take the trial period. We are not just married to one manufacturer, and we are one of the companies, I think, that takes the sometimes 45 days turns into 90 days. If you need to try something else and see what's going to work best for you, we're very dedicated to doing that. And the way I see it, and I think the way that we are encouraged at Better Hearing Center, is that this is our time. It's your time with trying hearing aids. And so this is the time where you can explore a little bit, and we're going to help you walk through that, because there's a lot of issues to look at. So we're going to help you walk through that, and we're going to help make sure that we do our best to guide you through that process of trying hearing aids.
Okay, the next question I have here is, after the 3-year lease, do I own the hardware? And one that kind of goes with that is, after the 3-year lease, can I get a new device and brain if I want to continue?
You don't own the hardware because it is a lease. Just like if you lease a car, you don't own the car. But as I said earlier, we're very interested in keeping people in the very best state-of-the-art version of the hardware. So within that first 3 years, like I said, if you respond to this offer that we have out there right now through the office, you will get the next generation of hardware as part of your system as soon as it becomes available. So it's sort of owning the system at the end of the lease actually is not to your benefit, because we are working on the next generation of the hardware and the next generation. So our goal would be to keep you in the system until we have the next system available for you, and then get that on you and keep on moving forward that way. So right now, we're not set up for you to own it, but one of the reasons is that we don't want you to be in that position where you're falling behind and behind. We want to keep you up to date as much as possible. So again, it's part of the switch over to not only thinking of it just as hardware, but thinking of it as a combination of hardware and the software that we can provide you, the up-to-date software that we can provide you.
Great. Next question here from a number of individuals are asking about rechargeability of the hearing aids.
Okay. The brain is rechargeable. So it's a system that has to be plugged in every night to be recharged to give you a full day. Right now, the earpieces are not rechargeable. We use disposable batteries. The reason is that, as I said, the brain works in conjunction with the earpieces to activate the artificial intelligence. And with the amount of signal processing in the brain, it takes a lot of data transferred from the earpieces to the brain and back in order to give you that solution. At the time we built Generation 1, we did not have at our access rechargeable batteries that would allow us to transfer that much data and still give you, reasonable battery life. With Generation 2, we will have rechargeability because battery technology has continued to advance in the small lithium-ion batteries. So that's another reason why people are going to be interested in moving to Generation 2 as soon as it's available, because of the rechargeability of the earpieces at that point in time.
Okay. Is there a cost associated with upgrading the hardware?
Not for people who come in via this Brain Trust offer.
Okay.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but going forward, if you renew at the end of 3 years, you renew the lease, that's with the intent of upgrading hardware and then also getting those software updates for
Sure.
going
Yes.
forward.
Right. That's absolutely true. Yes.
All right. The next question is from someone saying that they have a lot of issues in noisy restaurants because they're noisy. Can these devices help in those kinds of situations? My current devices really are not very helpful.
I think just like Jane said earlier, everyone's reaction to hearing aids is different. And so nobody can promise that a new hearing aid is going to help you more than your current hearing aid, because that's professionally, that would be irresponsible for any audiologist to make that statement. The design of the system, especially with our heavy emphasis on AI, is to be able to help you better in that situation than you're currently being helped. But there's no guarantee. But again, that's why we have the trial period right up front, and then the 45-day or sometimes longer return privilege is to make sure that you're getting that sort of benefit from the system. It's our hope that you would. It's what we strive for in our development, but it would be irresponsible for me or for Jane or anybody else to say we can guarantee that you're going to be doing better in those situations. That's for you to decide.
Yeah, and that's absolutely would not expect somebody who didn't get some improvement to continue with the Whisper. That's what you're expecting, so that's what we're trying them for, is to see how is that working for you.
Okay. I have a couple of questions about Bluetooth. Just wondering, how does Whisper use Bluetooth technology? Is Bluetooth enabled in this technology?
Yes, Bluetooth is enabled for phone calls, so that if you have either an Apple phone or you have a Android-based phone, the phone calls can stream to your earpieces going through the brain. So that's a possibility. Some of the more advanced streaming capabilities will be part of the next generation of our hardware, but definitely for phone call use, you have that capability.
Great. Okay. Are there any other ear models of Whisper available right now?
No, only the behind the what we call a RIC, RIC, or right model, meaning this, where you have the earpiece behind your ear, the wire, and the dome in your ear. We don't have in the ear products. We don't have small in the canal products. Only this as the what they call the form factor that we use.
Yeah, and you're getting their top of the line, the technology. It's not, some manufacturers have sort of a good, better, best approach to technology, and you can pay more for the better, and and if you're on a budget, go less. But this one, you're getting the state of the art. You're getting their technology. There's no choice in that, which is a good thing, I think.
Awesome. Okay. Next question is, as a musician, has there been an improvement to how musical pitch is heard?
Music is always hard in the hearing aids because we do a lot of processing in hearing aids, and we have for a number of years, to try to make the speech signal more clear. The problem is a lot of those processing routines do ugly things to music, because with music, you don't want anything to happen to the music. You want it to be as pure as you possibly can. So that's always been a challenge with hearing aids. What we do in Whisper is that with the brain, we have a second program that you can use, meaning that if you're listening to music and you want it to come through as clear as we can, then you can activate the music program in the brain. And the whole idea is to try to strip away some of the more advanced signal processing to try to let that music come through in its most natural state as we possibly can. Now, anytime you have hearing loss, you have to do some things to the signal, because you have to make it louder for a person to hear, but you have to make sure it doesn't get so loud that it becomes uncomfortable. So there's always some things we have to do to the signal, but we try to use such a light hand when we do that to try to make it sound as pure and natural as we can. Again, there's no guarantees, but it's a well-known challenge in hearing aid design, and it's something that we and other hearing aid companies are always working on, trying to make sure that we can do the best possible job with music as we can.
Great. The next question is, what is the life of the batteries? How often do they need replacing, and can they be replaced without going into the office?
Go ahead, Jane, on that one.
The batteries, I've been asking all of my patients, yeah, you replace them yourself. It's a very simple process, but it's probably on average about every 4 days. So this is something where, I don't know if you can see this, but the battery goes in the door. So maybe I'll go a little closer. And then you open the battery door, take the battery out, grab another one out of the package, drop it in, close the door. So you're also going to open the battery door at nighttime to turn it off. So it's very simple process to change the battery, but you are going to be changing batteries. So you'll have a supply of batteries, which are very reasonably priced, very inexpensive.
What personal adjustments are possible, and is there a remote?
So the brain, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Jane.
Okay, so the brain does have a volume control. So if you have the brain, it's a simple, you have about 5 steps up in volume, 5 steps down. And the opposite side has a button where you can get that custom program for music that Don was talking about. So very simple, easy to use. It also has an app where you can open the app up, do sort of the same, really the same things. Did I answer the question? I can't remember if there was another question along with that.
There are no additional user controls other than the program music versus the regular program and volume. And so at this point in time, we don't have tone adjustments or some other things on there. We feel that we've optimized the response of the system pretty well, and so that's not part of the app at this point in time. So, yeah. But we are always looking at the sort of upgrades that patients are interested in. That's part of what the Brain Trust is all about. To say if people are saying, like, I would like to be able to make adjust the tone quality a little bit more for different situations, then that's the sort of thing that we would definitely kind of put in our consideration list to put on the user app going forward.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that I've found is that it takes a little bit of time in the office to get the sound quality to sound as natural as possible, and that's really important because then you're gonna hopefully go through your day and feel pretty comfortable in most of your situations with just a little bit of volume control.
Great. Thanks everybody for your engagement today. We only have time for one more question, so we're just going to go to that. And the last question we have here is just, how can I try Whisper?
Good question. And so up on the screen, you're going to see a phone number to call. And if you call that phone number, you're going to get our office. Now, we did this webinar on a Friday and we're closed on Friday afternoons. So maybe that wasn't the most optimal choice, but we didn't quite think that through. But we will be checking the messages. And so please call, leave a message for us, tell us you're interested in the Whisper, and somebody will be contacting you. We are open on Saturdays, so we will have people contacting you both this afternoon and during tomorrow and during the week to set up a time and location that works well for you to try the Whisper.
Fantastic. Well, thanks, Jane. Thanks, Dawn, as well as all of our participants for joining in today. Give Dr. Warford a call and go ahead and set up your appointment and check out Whisper. But for now, we'll go ahead and wrap everything up. So I appreciate everybody's time today. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next time.
Yes,
thank you all for participating.